Dave, it's time to start the show. And as always, we ask you a trivia question at the top of the show, Dave. Here's your trivia question. Your friend of many, many years who was on this show, his name was Deepak. You remember Deepak?
No.
Yeah, you do. Your friend of many years. Deepak.
Unfortunately, I do, yes.
Have you ever taken the time to learn how to say his last name correctly?
I want to, but it's always a touchy subject with him, I feel like. Because if I say Anahana Mara Pora, and then he thinks I'm trying to make
it's actually Amantapadmanabha. But
it's
you
a
think
very
maybe
complicated last name. It's 18
But what about
letters.
what about reading it? Have you tried reading it?
I'm not good at reading it. Are you?
I think we should just get started with the show.
I can count it really good.
Yeah, let's just get started with the show, shall we? Welcome to 6 Unseemly Questions. I'm your host, Victor Varnado. This is my sidekick, Dave Rosinsky. We've got a great contestant on the show today. Everybody put your hands together for Stephen Edwards. Welcome to the show. All right.
Welcome to the show.
Stephen Edwards. And our studio audience is here as well. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Carol Montgomery and Rachel Teichman. Great job
welcome to the
being
show.
In the studio audience.
Woohoo!
Great,
Hi.
top job.
Okay, Stephen, I'm going to tell you how the show works, and we're going to get started. I'm going to ask you 6 unseemly questions. At the end of each question, I'll ring a bell if I like your answer, like this. However, if I do not like your answer, I will not ring a bell, and I'll tell you why. Regardless of how many bells you get at the end of the show, I'll decide whether or not it's worth giving you $5 whole for your appearance on the show. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, it's time for question number 1. Question number 1. Do your students have a nickname for you?
Not to my knowledge. They did find an image of somebody who looked like me in the Olympics, who was curling. As for nicknames, I don't know of any nicknames, or at least
not to your knowledge. So
not to my knowledge.
Just to catch everybody else up, Stephen is a professor of computer science?
Yeah, close enough. Yeah,
close enough. Great.
They don't call you Chip or something like that.
Yeah. No,
Professor...
it may be like Bonehead. Mostly, it's hey, Mister, is this going to be on the test? That's a popular one.
All right. Well, so I think we talked about this earlier, and the chances of your kids having a nickname for you is probably pretty high, I'm going to say. So what do you think it might be?
That's a good question. Yeah.
How old are the kids?
They're college age. He's a professor.
Yeah.
College.
So they're not kids.
Well, they don't look like kids. They certainly behave like it. But anyway, I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm coming up nothing. I mean,
something
I'm sure
like
it's
computer
some
guy or something.
Yeah, computer guy. But I'm one of there's like 50 of us in the department. I'm a phenomenally geeky computer guy, which is actually quite an achievement professionally.
Well, yeah, I thought that would
Maybe
rub off
it.
on like how people, they've had a nickname for you, like microchip.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
you know what? I will say this: no bell on that question. No bell on that question.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I had a really snappy, snide thing to call myself, but sadly I don't.
Mr. Floppy Disk.
Mr. Floppy Disk is terrible.
Right on the board when you go to.
All of these things. The problem is that these are computer science students, so all of these sort of obvious ones are kind of generic and would apply to just about anybody in the department. It would be like, Mr. Arcade in his office, or Mr. Junkyard. The best story I have is a student followed me after class one day, needed a USB cable, came into my office, and after 3 minutes he said, "Oh wait, this is your office. I thought this was the storeroom."
Oh.
Which
I get it, because you got a lot of computer stuff in your office.
I have a lot of computer detritus in my office. It's one of my there's no place to park.
This is a great word.
Yeah, get that detritus out of here.
No bell on that question. All right, so it's time for question number 2. But before we go into question number 2, can you tell people out there what you do?
What do I do? As you said, I teach computer science at Columbia University. And so when I'm not corrupting young minds, I'm in theory trying to do research and things like that. But mostly I'm dumpster diving and ripping apart old electronics stuff and figuring out what's going on. And I was just explaining to my daughter, I've been doing that since about age 7, maybe 8.
You started with Texas Instruments and worked your way up.
Let's see. I remember very enthusiastically tearing apart one of these flip-type digital clocks. And this would have been in the 70s. So
I did that too.
All right. Good for you.
I did the exact same thing, which is
But Victor
pretty
did
amazing.
it in the 50s.
Yeah, because I am, what does that make me, 70?
140.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
all right.
but I took it one step further. I actually kept the mechanism. And when I was in high school with Victor, which is how he knows me, otherwise he would never have had anything to do with me.
That's probably true.
I built a case for this this clock, and I use it to this day. So
Wow.
Wow.
No, I just took it all apart and brought it to my father and said, "What do we do now?"
I took the clock. I took the power cord off the clock and then taped the ends to a battery and then plugged the power cord into the wall.
I took the
that
clock
work?
and I said, how do I turn this on? And I threw it against the wall.
To answer your question, Carol, did it work? Yes, it made a fire. It worked.
nice.
See, I just went into PC games and messed with them because I wasn't alive when these clocks, whatever you're talking about, I was not alive when they existed.
Wow. Nobody asked you, Rachel.
Nobody asked
let's be
you.
honest. It is now time for question number 2. Question number 2. Do you know any rap songs?
Do I know any rap songs? And so something like Rapper's Delight doesn't count.
Counts.
It sort of counts. Can you do
Okay.
some? Can you
It's a
do
classic.
a part of a verse from Rapper's Delight?
No, it's blanking. I mean, come on, man. Look at the skin here. It's
You
just,
don't know one rap song, not even Rapper's Delight.
Now, what
Yes,
you
it's
hear
pretty-
is not a test. I'm rocking to the beat.
Dave,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Please,
helping.
Dave.
I'm helping.
Yeah. It is. I have this problem. I actually have a really hard time listening to vocal music and doing anything simultaneously. It's like the voices in my head take over and don't let me do stuff. So it's been actually quite a while since I listened to vocal music. Which
I have that same problem. But I listen to vocal music when I'm not doing things that are intensive. Like if I'm doing something which requires thinking, I listen to mostly acoustic music,
Okay.
mostly classical, I would say.
What are you into? Robot music, like? EP?
Oh yeah. The EDM stuff. It's really pathetic.
All right, so I'm going to say for that last question, a bell. I'll tell you why I'm giving you a bell is because when I wrote the question, I was just like, I bet he doesn't.
I'm glad I met your expectations, Victor. What can I say?
I'm going to say thank you. That was wonderful. All right, it is.
The real question I have is,
Yeah.
Does anybody remember any music, any popular music after they were about age 20? You know, I
Yes.
realize, okay,
I do.
I'm
Me too.
impressed.
I do too.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. See, my brain just sort of cut off right at right around 1990 or something like that, and sort of nothing new trickled in ever since. I remember everything from age 10 to age 20, but somehow it just stopped. I don't know.
Wow, you are. You know what? You are a dad.
That's very true.
It's a really
All right.
bad time to cut
Can you
out of
listen to
music,
Led
too,
Zeppelin?
1990.
I
more
do know
70s.
some Led Zeppelin things, although that I actually blame on my brother for pointing this out to me. It's like, oh yeah, you might want to listen to these guys. They've got kind of a good drummer.
What do you like, Milli Vanilli? Blame It on the Rain?
Oh, yeah, Milli Vanilli.
I'm just going to interrupt you being
great.
interrogated. I'm so sorry. I'm going to interrupt the musical interrogation because I want to continue with the show. Okay,
We've got more interrogation to go here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm the one who interrogates on this show, everybody. Okay.
And I'm the muscle.
Oh my gosh. All right. Time for your next question is question number 3. Question number 3. Have all your children built robots?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, no, this is something, I think it's in the DNA or something like that, but it's one of these things. It's like, oh, you're not willing to construct a, electronic toy or something like that. Are you sure you're related to me? So
see, I think that's I was really, I've seen a lot of your pictures of your kids making robots and making it looks like Raspberry Pi just machines that were once
Yep.
like
yeah,
it's amazing.
absolutely. No, it's, you got to shove these things down your kids' throats. I mean, I have an 18-year-old son who's also studying computer science, so the apple did not fall far from the tree there.
So when you were growing up, did your father also do technical things with you?
Not so much. My parents were both math majors. That's how they met each other. So it just sort of was floating around in the world that I lived in. But it's interesting. It seemed like it skipped a generation. My grandfather built a cabin in the woods using mostly a Swiss Army knife, from what I can tell. And my father only later sort of discovered that he could hammer a nail or something like that. I think he was like 60 at the time. Whereas to me, I took to it, as soon as I got my hands on throwing away clocks, this is how it goes.
Well, I mean, if you tell me that your parents were both mathematicians, I mean, that really makes it sound like you were bred to be a computer science professor.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And most people who met me before I became a professor said, this guy's going to be a professor. And I don't know that you said that. I think they were much more slanderous comments that you were making at the time when we were in high school together, most of which were accurate, incidentally. But
yeah, it's funny because I feel like when we were in high school, I used to always feel like you were talking down to me. I know you weren't, but it always felt like because I think that something about like the tone of your voice made me think like when I was a kid, like he's talking down to me.
Oh yeah.
But I think it was one of the things that egged me on with computers because I was just like, I'm gonna do more computer stuff.
I'm glad all my antagonism contributed so well to your career. This is wonderful.
It certainly did. It certainly did. I'll tell you about it. I mean, we were talking about it earlier. I want to go into it on the show, but I'm actually working on a computer project right now, which is amazing. Yep. It's all because of my imagined rivalry with you when we were younger.
This is just wonderful. Well, I have the impression in listening to recordings of myself is that I have let me tell you something voice. Let me explain to you. I don't know. So what do the rest of you think? Is that accurate?
Mansplaining? Maybe.
You sound like a DJ to me. So you have that type of voice. You could be a morning zoo.
Oh, that's flattering. Yeah. Okay.
DJ Chip.
There you go.
All right. Well, I'm gonna say for that I'm gonna say Nobel because we got off the subject. We didn't land that answer. That was all of us, but you're the one who gets Nobel. All right, it's time for question number 4. Question number 4: how did you propose to your wife?
It was very carefully planned spontaneity. We walked out to the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge, and I got down on my knees. Now, she had prescribed all of this, of course, so it was very, very spontaneous. But she let me at least write the phrases and things that I had to explain.
Well, what do you mean by your sarcastic spontaneity? You're saying that like your wife gave you a list of like, this is what I want to happen.
Yeah, more or less. We spoke about it at length beforehand. How should we do this proposal thing? We ought to do it that way. So that's most people would not consider that spontaneous particularly.
I agree.
It's mostly about, from what I understand, having something to brag about to your friends. That seems to be the sort of the main criteria in her life about, should this happen? Well, let's see. If I can't brag about it on Facebook or IG or something, then did it really happen?
Good point.
I proposed to my wife over whiskey.
So
we're
romantic.
Both having whiskey.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. She was drunk enough to say yes. What can I say? All right. It is now. I'm gonna. You know what? I'm gonna say Nobel. I'll tell you why. It's because I feel like your proposal was
Better
not
than yours.
spontaneous. So I'm just scoring you with no bell for that. It's just an arbitrary reason.
I fear I'm going to lose the Nobel Prize at the end of this.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Put his name on the list of people who said that on the show. But of course you would say it.
I think he said it first. No?
I don't think so.
No, he did not.
I can't believe after hearing Nobel 3 times, I mean, it was just screaming at me.
Yes, but also the worst part is you already got a bell. So
Yes.
you got a bell earlier. So
Mhm.
there's no chance of it happening. You just shoehorned that in for no reason. All right. It is now time for question number 5. Question number 5. What percentage of people automatically hate you?
The question is, what's the set of people we're talking about, right? So I think, if we consider like the planet as a whole, many of them haven't met me yet. Most of them haven't met me yet, and have probably not formed opinions. Now, the ones who, approach me and deal with me on a daily basis or something like that, excluding the students, it's probably right around 50% of sort of normal people, once they begin to know me.
50%. I would say my number is like at 15 right now.
Okay.
Dave's probably like 97, 98, I would think.
You mean 98 not hated percent?
No, 98 hate, just burning fury. And so what makes you think that 50% of people don't like you?
It usually starts after I open my mouth. Up to that point, I usually am doing okay. But I say something, and like I say, they maybe it sounds like I'm talking down to them, which I probably am. That's really what humor's all about, by the way. It's a barely masked intelligence test.
Thanks. Now I'm going to tell you what computers are all about.
Yeah, exactly. Let me tell you about so forth and so on. But yeah, I think that's it. I mean, I went into my career as an engineer to specifically avoid having to deal with people. It didn't work out very well that way, but I think I figured this out early on. And
I've heard that from a lot of computer science people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And my students hate me because I force them to do projects where they have to work with their brethren. And I say, sorry, working with people, this is the hardest thing you will do in computer science. All that math stuff is really quite easy by comparison. But yeah, it's evil. But I'd like to say that 50% is a great improvement over what it was in high school, where I think it was more like 80 or 90%. I mean, you tell me, Victor, but at the time, I wasn't exactly homecoming king or whatever it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think in high school, I liked you because I thought you were smart, and so that was one of the things that I appreciated about you. But I will say that there was a large portion of our class who probably were not, let's say, Stephen Edwards fans.
Was it the ones that were giving him wedgies?
I don't know. Did you ever get a wedgie in high school?
I managed to avoid that particular thing.
Good for you, man.
Yeah. So I'm reasonably tall, so I can run fast enough to get away from most.
So did I. I had no idea I grew up to be into it, though.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, everybody.
No, you're not.
I really didn't need to know that. Yeah. Now it's interesting though that you actually consider this smart thing was a positive thing. From what I could tell, most people really objected to that when I was in high school.
I adored that you're intelligent.
Aw.
Anyway, here's a bell.
This is the sweetest episode we've ever had.
Yeah. This is just unbelievable. All the pieces of my life are falling into place now.
It is now time for question number 6. Question number 6. Will AI take over?
Take over what?
I would say, will AI take over the world?
Touché.
I mean, you can fill in the blank.
Okay. So it is currently completely taken over computer science. Every student we have comes and says, basically, I want to do machine learning AI or something like that. Will it take over the world in the all your bases are mine kind of sense? No, because nobody's going to let it have that level of control, and it's never going to be clever enough to sort of do deliberately evil things, not like people.
Have you ever heard the thought experiment about the Hydra?
No, what is this?
The Hydra is a thought experiment about there's this entity called the Hydra that in the future it is made, and it is an AI like super being thing, and it controls everything. And the Hydra has access to all history. And so the Hydra, like, basically, because it has access to all history, it basically says that anybody who is currently not helping the Hydra come into existence, when it does come into existence, it will kill you. It will kill you, and it will hurt you, and it will make it hurt, and it'll take forever. So right now, if you're not working to bring the Hydra into existence, then you would be doomed. So it's up to you. It's your duty by this thought experiment to bring this thing to be part of bringing this thing into existence right now.
Interesting.
Never heard about that?
I've not heard that particular one. The way I'd like to phrase it, though, is that so modern machine learning AI stuff, it's getting better. But one of the things that people maybe don't completely understand is how incredibly brittle and fragile computer stuff is. Right? It's much more likely to just, completely screw up and core dump and give you the blue screen of death and so forth, as opposed to, do something smart or evil or something like that. All the things we can think of as sort of, terrible things have happened because of computers, power blackouts and Facebook going down and stuff like that. All of these are just mistakes. They're just, stuff not working. And to be a really effective evil take over the world kind of thing, you better be pretty robust.
That is actually a good point. That you never think about, like, how complicated the systems and code must be behind world dominating AI, and of course it would fail.
Yeah. No, it's
that's so funny.
Yeah,
you laugh now, but what about
great.
Hydra?
Yeah. The thing is, all you got to do is trip over the damn power cord, Hydra's damn power cord, and you'll be there.
Well,
What if Hydra hears you saying this and then kills you next year?
I'm going to give you a bell because you made me feel better about what's going to happen with AI in the future. So thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Now you've answered
soothsayer.
all 6 questions. So now it's time to decide whether or not you get $5. But before we do that, would you like to tell people out there where to find you?
Where to find me?
Well,
So
this is part of the show because most people on the show are trying to get seen. A lot of people are comedians. Fewer people are people I know from high school. So
right.
Yeah.
So absolutely. So this is actually my professional achievement, my biggest professional achievement. If you type Stephen Edwards into Google,
yes,
I am usually the number 1. I am not the film score composer. Now, the scary thing, there's actually another Stephen Edwards who also misspells his name in computer science, who teaches at Virginia Tech, I believe it is. He and I actually went to the same undergraduate institution. He graduated the year before I arrived. I stayed in the same dorm room. I was receiving his mail for the first semester. It was kind of scary. It was all computer magazines. It was like, how did they know? Anyway, it was very good. So all you got to do is Google me.
All right.
I'm noisy on Facebook. I don't seem to know these other things. I'm over 50, so
So one of your biggest achievements is that you're the first Stephen Edwards in Google?
that is it. My page
I
rank is
think you've done a lot more than that. I'm just thinking.
But in terms of things that you can, go up and tell people on the street, hey, look, here's my success story.
Right, gotcha.
Being able to say, hey, look, if you Google me, I come up.
I am the number 1 video result when you Google how to draw a penis.
That's how I found you.
That's
100% true.
That's fantastic. I mean, you must have a lot of stiff competition. It's
This is not a. You know what? I'm glad the show is over, so we can get this stuff out of here.
No, let's keep that.
I've said it. I said it once. I said it 1,000 times. Puns are peasant humor.
You find them unpleasant, you're saying?
Oh, keep it going.
I will. I am so sorry, everybody who had to listen to that part of the show. Now, it's time to decide whether or not you get $5, but we canvass the room. What do you think, Dave? Should Steve get $5 for his appearance on the show?
I'm gonna vote yes because it was nice to talk about floppy disks and remind me of Atari and Cobra and Hydra and the rest of the G.I. Joe gang.
All right. I don't know how you got to G.I. Joe from Atari. You started with Atari, right? And then okay. Cobra, Hydra. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's how it happened. Dave, what a wonderful mind. All right. Carol, what do you think? Should Steven get $5 for his appearance on the show?
Is that a yes?
Thumbs up on a podcast.
Yes.
Thank you, Carol.
Yes.
All right. Rachel, what do you think? Should Steve get $5 for his appearance on the show?
You know what? At first, I was tempted to say no because I have had to suffer through too many group projects in college and graduate school, and they were the worst, and I hated them. And I wanted to say no $5 just because you do that to people. However, I like you, and I want to hang out. You seem like a lot of my friends, and so I believe my friends all deserve $5. So therefore, you should get $5.
Oh wow!
Wow!
Good
Every one of your
Lord.
friends deserves $5.
So she basically, you brought up some trauma that she has with, and then she switched over to now you get you get the prize of becoming her friend.
Wow! So Rachel, have you had that head trauma looked at some point, or?
Wow! There you go. Zing.
Yes.
Right in her Rachel face.
Wow.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Do one about floppy disks next.
So, Steve, it is time to decide whether or not you get $5. So you're the last person we're going to ask. What do you think? Should you get $5 for your appearance on the show?
The one question I had is it coming out of your pocket or is it coming from some other
whoa.
other
That's
source?
Personal.
It is my personal $5. I mean, it's not coming out of my pocket. I would digitally Venmo it to you.
Right. Well,
you don't want it from his pocket.
Practically, yeah. I do kind of vaguely know where his pocket has been and so forth. So based on the fact that
why would you know that?
Well, I sort of vaguely know where you've been, so it's,
vaguely.
Right. Very good. I was about to turn it down, thinking, no, you're poor, but I managed to convince Rachel that I'm not a complete. I mean, this is breathtaking, and I mean, just
no. Most of my friends are.
You know,
clear.
I'm going to say no $5 because this answer is taking forever.
Whoa, he was talking about turning it down.
Yeah. I guess I'll take it then. That'd be the sort of thing an would do.
Well, you can't actually because I'm not giving it to you. You're not getting $5. I've decided you do not get it.
Okay.
But thank you for being on the show because you're great on the show. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much.
Dave, what did you learn from this week's show?
I remember when AI used to mean Allen Iverson, and I can sleep assured tonight knowing that Hydra is going to come and kill us one day.
All right. Great stuff, Dave. Everybody, please check us out at Six Unseemly on all social media and unseemlyquestions.com.
Starbane's Audio, a podcast network.